Hello again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy, and before I lose my sanity, I decided I needed to be very bad and do a personal project in between all of these customer builds. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to share the start of it with you. Thanks for joining me. So for those of you who have been following my channel for a long time, you'll know that I am a Nautilus nut. In particular, I am a huge fan of the Disney Nautilus from a 1954 Disney movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's my favorite submarine of all time, but I love all Nautilus models. And in particular, I am quite taken with the gargantuan Sword of the Sea Nautilus from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the movie. So I fortunately stumbled across a set of 3D files recently, downloaded them and spent many hours optimizing them for 3D printing, and in particular for conversion of that model to a fully functional RC submarine. Now, let me show you what I've got going on. So as of this morning, this is what I have got to work with. This is something that works out to 1/250th scale. If I understand things correctly, this Nautilus was supposed to be something in the vicinity of 350 meters in overall length. This is obviously somewhat smaller than that. And it's about as small as I would like to go with this model, and there's a reason for it. From the side profile, you can see this gorgeous silhouette. It's beautiful. And the issue, however, as the name Sword of the Sea implies, this is a narrow model. It's going to make it exceptionally interesting to install RC running gear, but I have come up with some solutions that I think are going to work. Let me show you what I've got going on. All right, bow to stern, this boat is about 46 inches in overall length. I really like the size. It's still convenient, but it's going to have a nice presence on and underneath the water. I did a horizontal split along the entire length of the boat, which gives me access to the entire interior. I'm going to show you how I have the hull held down in a moment, but just take a look at this beautiful detail. Now, I think these files that were generated that I found were based off of a 3D scan of the Wave model, which is a much smaller one. So the resolution of these filigrees and such is not exceptionally sharp, but I think once I get paint on there, it's going to look really gorgeous. All of these, vent holes and scuppers and all of that stuff were in the 3D file already. However, the interior setup was pretty wonky. All of these were connected together, so there were plastic interior bulkheads that went across the entire thing, so very not suitable for RC at all. I had to do a lot of modifications there. I'm going to take the tower off. Again, that's all 3D printed. Here are I believe these are called Archimedes screws. These are supposed to be the super turbo powered propulsion methodology for the Nautilus in the movie. They dropped down in the bottom there in those recesses and propelled this thing to the point that it actually hydroplaned across the ocean. Little unbelievable, and also the surfaced water line was like something like here, which I don't know how they managed to do that. They broke many laws of physics. This is what I've got going on, though. We'll get to the interior part. Rather than this screw propulsion, I am going with a ducted internal jet, and you can see the output for that in that keel mount. So we're going to draw water into the model through these sculpted intakes here, but that's not going to be enough flow. So I'm going to have to open up additional inlets in order that I don't starve the motor and prop setup. But it's going to blow directly out the stern along the center line, directly past the rudder, and that's going to give me excellent response to rudder inputs. And you can see I've got this rigged up in a triple rudder arrangement. They're all rigged together. I'm pretty excited. That turned out really, really well. All right, let's crack into the model, and it's going to be really easy. Basically, the entire top half is held on magnetically. So I'm going to pop that off. There are some orientation pins that I embedded in the hull to keep alignment, and then a series of magnets that connect to their mates in the hull, and they have a very, very positive lock once that is down there. So taking a look at what we've got to work with here, this is like 1/4 of an inch in the front, getting to maybe 1/2 and 5/8 of an inch, and then you know, maybe an inch opening to maybe 1.5 inches at the widest part here. What I am going to do is utilize this home-built compartment to house all of the electronics, and that's going to drop in just like that, and that's where all of the electronic components that need to be kept dry are going to sit. Now what I am going to do is run a brushless motor in the wet, and that's going to power this ducted propeller arrangement in the back. That's going to draw water in here through this like venturi tube and expel it out the back section. You can see another of the design challenges is that these rear dive planes can't tilt because it's got the hull directly underneath it. So if I were to make these functional, I would actually need to probably cut them and so have only the outermost section turn. I am going to try to get away with not utilizing stern planes. Rather than that, I have taken some design liberties, and I'm going to duplicate those stern planes in the front here, and I'm going to mount them right about here. So they are going to offer pitch and depth control via the front of the boat, which is a little bit different than the standard setup for an RC submarine. For the ballast section, as I showed you, this is where the electronics compartment is going to sit. I am going to section off this hull right here and up to here. So this entire section is going to be an operational ballast tank. We'll cap off the top there. I'm going to have a little air pump that pumps air into it, and a little vent up at the top to vent it out to dive. Should work in theory. We'll see if it actually does. Well, there you go. More than anything else right now, I've got a hull and a collection of ideas that I think will work to get this turned into a functional RC submarine. Challenging because, of course, it never was a real submarine to begin with, and certainly not one that is practical by any stretch of the imagination. But nonetheless, I am going to give it my best to get this thing going. I will be updating you on this channel and my website, so you can follow along with the progress on this very cool RC submarine. I hope you'll join me. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss the updates. I am Bob Martin, the RC sub guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you next time.